Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2021 Chevrolet Spark, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster stoplight switch kit. So brake light switch is going to be needed for those of you that choose to use a permanent type braking system that has some type of indicator light. Most of them do. A few of the popular ones are the Roadmaster InvisiBrake. That's what we have here today on our vehicle. Others are the stay in play supplemental braking system, and so on. Those are kind of our popular ones. And the reason that you would need this brake light switch is those braking systems require a brake signal to activate those indicator lights telling you that the braking system is working properly. The reason you can't use the factory one is because these Sparks require you to disconnect the battery while you're towing it. All right, so with the battery disconnected, the factory switch is not going to be able to work and therefore not be able to tell the indicator light and the braking system, hey, I'm working, turn the light on. So with this switch kit, you can wire it in a way to where it's going to have power, all right, even when you disconnect the vehicle's battery. All right, so it's going to run directly off of the battery, but not off the wiring that runs into the vehicle and everything else, if that makes sense. So you're essentially hardwiring it to a 12-volt battery. That's going to supply it with the power and send that signal out telling the braking system to turn the indicator light on. So you're going to have a total of 5 main components needed to flat tow your Spark down the road. The first one's going to be your base plate. That's going to provide us with a solid and reliable connection point. That way we can hook our tow bar up to it. The tow bar is going to be that second component, all right, and that's going to be the physical link that connects the front of your Spark to the back of your motorhome. Third main component is going to be safety cables, and these are there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. They're going to keep everything paired together. The fourth main component is going to be tow bar wiring, and what that's going to do is transfer the lighting signals from the back of your motorhome to the back of your Chevy, keeping you safe and legal. And last but not least, the fifth main component is going to be a braking system. And what this is going to do is apply the brakes in your Spark whenever you apply the brakes in your motorhome, helping to bring you to a more complete and predictable stop. There are a couple more components that I would suggest picking up. It's just going to make your flat towing experience that much better. One of them is what's called a automatic battery disconnect. Since the Spark requires you to disconnect the battery whenever you're flat towing, that can be kind of troublesome, having to get your tools out and do that every time. With the automatic switch, all you're going to have to do is push a button. Makes it super easy and straightforward. So the way it's going to work is the switch is going to get mounted to a bracket, and it's going to be resting against your brake pedal arm. Whenever the brake is not being depressed, whenever it's just in its resting state, that switch is going to be open, not allowing electricity or current to flow through it. But whenever the brake pedal is pushed down and the braking system activates it, so it depresses a brake, the switch is going to close, create a complete circuit, and allow that signal to be sent to the indicator light on your braking system, telling it, hey, brake pedal's being depressed and everything's working properly. So at the end of the day, a small but necessary component if you want your braking system's indicator light to function properly. Now, as far as the installation goes, really not too bad. Worst part about it is, it's a little cramped underneath the dash, but thankfully you don't have to spend a lot of time under there because there's only a few things to do. Speaking of which, let's go ahead, pull into the garage and put it on together now. To begin the installation for our Roadmaster brake switch, we're going to be working on the driver's side of our vehicle, and we're going to locate the brake pedal arm and follow it up. That's going to allow us to remove a nut where we can mount up our bracket. So if you look at the very top of our brake pedal arm and kind of to the left of it just a little bit, there's going to be a factory 13 millimeter nut. All right, and you can remove that nut, take the included bracket, put the bracket over the stud, and then tighten the nut back down. On the other end of the bracket, we're actually going to mount up that switch. So the switch is just going to get plugged into the bracket, and you can tighten it down with a couple of nuts, and it's going to rest against that brake pedal arm. If I push a brake pedal arm, you can kind of see that white portion of the switch retracting in and out. From there, we're going to have two wires. You can see there's a red wire that we have plugged in, as well as a black wire. So you're just going to crimp on some butt connectors to the two wires coming out of the switch and get those two wires hooked up. It does not matter which wire goes to which side of the switch, as long as they're both hooked up. The black wire is going to be from the indicator light on your motorhome, and that's going to tell the indicator light in the motorhome that the brake pedal is being applied. The red wire is just going to be our power source, and so that we actually just routed towards the left side of our vehicle and actually tied into the power wire for our InvisiBrake system. So that red wire, as I said, just gets routed towards the passenger side, drops down along through here, and then I just used a quick splice connector to tie into the red power wire from our InvisiBrake system. And this is perfectly fine to do. You don't have to worry about a fuse or anything because this wire is already fused that we're tapping into. And the brake light switch draws so little amperage for, just a split second here and there. It's not going to affect our original fuse circuit, if that makes sense. So this just clamps around the two wires and pairs them together. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster stoplight switch kit on our 2021 Chevy Spark.